Hey. So we got my boy, David Alvarado. Did I say that right?
You said it.
Alvarado. Yeah, baby. So me and Mr. David, we met back in 2021. Is that when we met? 20?
Sounds
2020?
about right. Yep.
Yep.
At
I
the
know that.
OC Fair
Yeah. OC Marathon, I think it was. Is that what it was?
half marathon. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was at the time in charge of Beachbody Fitness. That was the gym I owned. I was trying to get people all campaigned and excited. I tried to get this guy to join my gym forever, but he's like, nah, I already look that good. I don't need it. But for whatever reason, your energy is magnetic and we just jive. And since then, we kept a relationship, we kept in contact, but it seemed quite organic in the last year that I ran into at church, Mariners Church.
Yeah.
And then I think we ran in somewhere else. Where was it? Where did we run into each other?
You know what I remember, but we ran into like each other like two or three times back
In
to
the course
back.
of like weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're a trailblazer, you're entrepreneur, you're a zealot, a man of faith, you're all these things. So what's new in your world right now? What are you doing? What's going on?
You know what's new in my world today? I mean, obviously we're rounding up Q1. It's March. One of my goals for the year, my uh what most people call New Year's resolution, is to have a relentless pursuit for spiritual development.
Hmm.
And people put all kinds of goals down. And I have big goals too, right? I want what my company's going to do, with my family, and with my friends, with my hobbies. I have all those goals, but if this one goal doesn't get met, I don't know if the rest of the goals will get met.
Hmm.
But what I do know is that this goal gets met, all the right goals will get met in my life, in my year.
Hmm.
And so to have a relentless pursuit of spiritual development this year versus any other year, it has really aligned me to walk in spirit.
Hmm.
I love today's Bible study that we had as a quick little scripture. It was Galatians 5:25, and it said, we are of the Spirit, so we should walk of the Spirit. And I was actually so proud of myself because Jake, you know scripture like the back of your hand, and I just remembered that one,
Hmm.
which is not that common for me.
Hmm.
But what I do know is that I walk with that spirit, and in my days, my relationships, my work relationships have gotten so much better, and I don't feel like I have to try anymore. It's just organic. And it reminds me of, these amazing NBA players or NFL players that they they perform at such an effortless level. Like
Hmm.
they make it look easy, and
Easy.
it's not easy because they've been practicing for years and years and years. But when they stop trying so much, it's effortless for them because they just aren't they don't have to try anymore. And you see Kobe doing amazing things. You see quarterbacks doing amazing things. You see, that one kid from Barkley from the Eagles do some amazing things, jumping
Hmm.
over tackles.
Hmm.
And so it's today. That's what's new in my life is that
Hmm.
I'm chasing my relentless spiritual development.
Hmm. I'm definitely intrigued because when we met back in 2021, that you seemed different. Back then, you definitely had that passion, you had that drive. But when I ran into you again, even though we kept in touch online, via text, here or there, it wasn't that often, but it was like maybe once a quarter, something like that. I know you were dreaming about me all the time, but that's another conversation. But finally, to run into you, and I'm not sure exactly where that was again, if it was at church first or a restaurant or Spectrum or where it was, you were different. There was something different about you. And it was the spiritual side. We were just, before we started the show, we were talking about the heart and how important the heart is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how aesthetically beautiful someone is, once you get to know them within 30, 45 minutes, maybe quicker for some people, you catch on to who they are and you go, wow, this person's incredible. Or there's not much here. It's a little shallow. And it depends on each and every person's journey. Everyone's at a different place in life. And so we're all on this journey together. Some people are self reflective, such as yourself, where you're focused on being your better self. And that has less to do with how many possessions I have and the accolades that I carry on the outside of me. It has more to do with the accolades you carry on the inside of you, your heart, which we were just talking about. But you definitely made a shift. So, what was that shift in the last year, year and a half? I'm curious.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, I can tell you that Dave 5 years ago, and I'm talking 2020, right? COVID,
2020. Okay.
pre-COVID, I was a completely different person, and you met that person
Mm,
um, at that OC marathon. You know, we all want to be successful. I don't know anybody who doesn't.
hmm
And I was willing to work hard. I was willing to chase my goals. I was willing to get out of my way. I was willing to learn from others. But for some odd reason, it was harder to accomplish what I wanted, and it was not smarter. It was just harder. I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to do, but the moment um, that it got a little more challenging, I started burning relationships. I started things that it started getting more challenging. I started getting frustrated and things like that. And ended up running into a wall because I remember in 2018 to 2019, 2020, I wrote down my goals for the year, like I do every year. But the one goal that I put down that I have never written down ever in my life was I want a relationship with God.
hmm
I was looking for leadership development. I was looking for personal. I need to become a better leader. I need to be like, I didn't know what you don't know. And when you stop and reflect what is going right and what's going wrong, you have to start to be honest with yourself and say, am I going to do this by myself? Can I continue to grow and achieve what I want by myself? And the truth is, no, nobody could ever achieve anything by yourself. You can get far in life by yourself, but eventually it's gonna all fall apart. So 21, I moved over to Orange County. One of my buddies introduced me to a church here locally. It's called Free Chapel. And man, I can tell you that the beginning it was like, no, my wife's like, let's go. I'm like, I don't know. And I have a different religious background that my family grew up with, and to have a non-denominational Christian presence was just different for me. And so I challenged it for a little bit. I started listening to some podcasts. I started listening to some pastors that were kind of more motivational. You've probably heard of Joel Osteen and all those other guys.
Yeah.
And then when it came to uh 2022, I remember in January, my wife's like, hey, it was my 10th year anniversary that year. So it was February, it's 10 years anniversary. We're gonna celebrate. My wife's like, hey, what are we gonna do? And I was like, it's still COVID crazy, 2022. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do a whole party. I mean, people are waiting months and years just to get venues for weddings. So like, can you imagine for us? And she's like, all right, well, let's do something. Okay, cool. And then she comes to me and she says, hey, we've been going to this church for a couple times, I think we went like 2 or 3 times. And she's like, I think I want to get baptized. And I
Mm,
said, oh, okay, sure.
wow.
And she's like, yeah, I think I want to do it. They talked about having baptisms in February. I think I want to do that one because this is January. We're having this conversations. And so, okay, cool. Yeah, get baptized. And she's like, all right, I just want to let you know. And so my wife kind of knows me that she can't challenge me or forces me to do anything like that. So, um, things got started, January started progressing. I started thinking about, hey, what are we going to do for our 10th year anniversary? Because
And this
obviously
is
she wants
last
to do
year.
something.
This is last year.
This is 22.
22. Okay.
This is 22. This is January 22.
Okay.
And so at that point, I started thinking about it. Man, she wants to do something, got to do something. And then, I woke up one day and it just, God spoke to me in my heart and said, just get baptized with her.
Mm,
And so, and I kind of just really sat in that feeling. It's like, man, am I going to get baptized with my wife right now? I don't know if this, like something's inside of me telling me, hey, just do this with her. And so February came around and I said, I haven't told my wife that anything yet. It's been kind of growing in my heart. And then, my wife's like, "Yeah, are we gonna do anything for our wedding anniversary? Whatever we gonna do anything?" I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be in the cards this year, babe. But you know what I do want to do? I said, I think I want to get baptized with you and experience the rest of our lives under Christ.
Hmm.
And for her, it was the ultimate gift. Oh my
Huge.
gosh, she started crying. She still hugged me, and it was like the strongest, most authentic hug that I've ever gotten
Hmm.
from my wife.
Hmm.
And so, and she's like, "What made you do this? What made you decide?" And I said, "You know what? I feel like if you're gonna make that decision to walk with Christ,
Yeah.
and I'm not, what kind of a supportive husband am I gonna be?
Hmm.
God's calling you, and He's calling me, and I can't let
Yeah.
my past hold me back. I gotta let my future pull me forward." And so me and her got baptized together. In
Wow.
the second week of February, we celebrated our 10th year anniversary together. We went to something small, went to go have some dinner, and that is what changed. That is
Hmm.
what changed. I kid you not. God worked on my heart so much. I couldn't go
Hmm.
to church without shedding tears. Every
Hmm.
Sunday, I was shedding tears, shedding tears, shedding tears. And I even got to the point where I started finding friends that, good Christian men like you. Like, and
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were Christian. I mean, you have no idea what you don't know. But I started meeting good Christian men, and I'd have, these coffees and just talk about your faith and talk about what's going on. And at one point I even asked, I said, does that ever go away that I'm crying at church every Sunday? Like whatever the pastor's talking about, tears are coming down.
Yeah.
And he said, "You know what, man? It's got a lot of work to do in your heart, and that's what that looks like. That's what that
Hmm.
feels like. Is that only
Hmm.
God can do? Only the Holy Spirit can do that to you. And
Yeah.
so let that work, and let that do that. Because one day it's not going to happen anymore because your heart is where it's supposed to be, where God wants it to be. It's softened it, and then you're going to be looking back and say, man, is He still here?
Yeah.
He's always there, but you'll question it. And so I kind of
Hmm.
grew with that. And since then, I've changed so much. My
Hmm.
relationship with my business, with my relationship with my wife, relationship with my kids, with my parents. I mean, that's another topic. But everything has changed. And again, we connected
Hmm.
because of my spiritual growth.
Hmm.
I would have not seen you at Mariners Church that one time and connected with you. My son got baptized that weekend at that church camp.
Service. Hmm.
And if it wasn't for me getting baptized, he wouldn't get baptized. And it's like,
Hmm.
and he's only 9 years old. I didn't
Hmm.
even tell him. He did it on his own.
Hmm.
And so when you said what changed,
Hmm.
God changed my life. That my
Hmm.
heart changed. You talked about the heart. You can see somebody, they can be good looking on the outside, but their heart is ugly,
Hmm.
and you will quickly cringe, right?
Yeah.
Or you can see somebody that's ugly on the inside and they have the most beautiful heart. And you will love that person to death. They're family now.
Yeah.
And in this superficial world that we live in, to be good looking means you can't have a good heart. But yes, you can. And as much as I care about my appearance, I care about my heart, I care about my relationship, I care about everything in my, it's how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Hmm.
And so today it's the life has gotten so much better because of working on my spiritual development.
Hmm.
I coach people all the time today, and in business, everybody says, "Hey, you need leadership development, leadership development." When you start getting leadership development, you start realizing I don't need leadership development. I need personal development. And when you start having personal development, you start realizing I don't need personal development. I need spiritual development.
Yeah.
And so everybody I coach today, I'm starting with your spirit. If your spirit's not right, your personal development's not going to be right. So let's start with growing your spirit. You don't have to believe in God, but let's grow your spirit. Let's have a positive spirit. Let's
Hmm.
have a loving spirit. Let's have a God. Again, I will always share my faith and I'm not afraid of it. But let's be great human beings and love thy neighbor, love the person around you, because that is what's going to allow your personal development to grow, which allows you to have leadership development because you can only lead yourself in order to lead others.
Yeah. Yeah. You said so many things. I think first and foremost, this idea of coaching people with their spirit is a beautiful thing. And you're a man that doesn't shove his faith down people's throat. And I'm the same way. And so to a group of Christians that might be perceived as weakness, as in, why aren't you sharing your faith about Jesus? But I think what you just said is the point. It's the heart. And the heart behind God is to love people, to encourage people, to lift people up. And that brings me to my next point, which is you talked about, why do I go to church and why do I cry every single week? And at the time you were just, and I know the church that you were going to, it's very much a spirit-led church, a church led by God's Spirit. And if you're in God's Spirit, whether you're a new Christian, you're a Christian that's been around the block like me, 20 plus years or 50 years, God is going to keep your heart soft. And true strength is in gentleness and in meekness. And that
Yeah.
love illustrated in humility is not what the world demonstrates as confidence. When I saw you in 2021, you were definitely someone to me that was a confident person. But to be honest, being keen on the spirit and being someone that's in God's word, that is the Bible every day. And it's something that's been a habit of mine for 24, 23 years as of July 15th this year, that I can tell when someone is spiritually confident. And I didn't see that in you. Not to
Mhm,
say that I had that thought, but I had that feeling. It was there.
mhm,
And there wasn't much interest. Not that I didn't want to get to know you, but there wasn't much interest to connect with you because I felt like there was a missing link.
mhm.
Not to say again, like I don't want to connect with non believers or people that don't believe the same thing as me. It's actually just the opposite. But as much as we talked was good enough. But the fact that we encountered each other the way that we did, and I saw a true spiritual confidence, which is not something that you can force. You can't force fruit. The fruit of God is something that's instilled in someone through daily habits, picking up your cross, and actually being a Christ follower. And so that's
Yeah.
something that you've now become, and it's such a beautiful thing. So to hit the point of that sensitivity in the spirit, I think you could have that every week, every day. Not to say you want that. I get that. You were just telling me your story. I was getting emotional because when it comes to God's spirit, I think specifically when you speak truth, it doesn't matter how the words come across, it impacts people. So I think in this world, it's very easy for us. You want to be a speaker, you want to be a coach, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a leader. It's like there's these formulas out there to say the right thing that sounds really good. And it might be on the surface like, that's money, that's perfect. But it's not going to impact someone's heart. Because what impacts someone's heart, and not every time it can, but what impacts someone's heart is the truth. And I
Yeah.
think Jesus illustrated that. And there's been many people that have illustrated it since then. It's not the most linguistic, not the most perfect words, but it's the words that count in the moment to that person. Because you could be in a season of life, which is, right now I'm a lion. I'm ferocious. I'm killing it. I'm crushing it. Get out of my way. And that's a great season. So there's only certain people in your life that will speak truth to you because your eyes are on the prize and you're on the
Mhm.
straight and narrow path. And it's sometimes easy to not listen to the noise on the outside, which is good because you should be. But at the same time, where other seasons where every little thing that's said to you because you're so sensitive, because you're so broken, because you're struggling, it affects you. And I
Mhm.
think whether you're in this season or this season, God can still give you the spirit of awareness and that sensitivity to the message being conveyed, which that message is truth. Even if it's from a non-believer, non-believers can say things that are truthful, and it will hit me to my core. I'm like, oh, and then I start almost on a weekly basis. Am I crying in church? Not like, not doing that. I'm not wailing, not weeping, uh, because I'm a man. I don't do that. No, I'm just joking. Um, you know what I'm saying? But my wife will look at me and she's like, "You crying?" And I'm like, "No." And it's just something the pastor is saying, something that someone said.
Yeah.
It's just the spirit of God moves and you just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. And it just did when you were sharing your story. I mean, it's just so beautiful to see God take someone who's worldly confident, like, I got this. I'm
Yeah.
good. Like I know how to achieve success because I've done it before. But then all of a sudden, through your wife, which I find to be interesting. Is your wife always been that leader for you? Not to say that you're not the head of the house or you're not the spiritual leader, but it seemed like you're probably the person that takes that role. But in that instance, she theoretically kind of like led you down that path.
You know, it's always been said, with every strong king, there's a stronger queen.
Yeah,
And my wife has a superpower
he does.
that it is not praised by society, right? And to be honest, when we first got married, it was very, I was very dominant, right? I'm a Latino, and macho, is going to be my way, and she listens to me, and I pay the bills, and it was very much that way, and it was, bless her heart for still loving me, because I was like, ugh, I used to be that guy. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. And
Mm,
so for a long time, I led the household in that manner, and very confidently, like you mentioned, and arrogance. I'll be honest, I was arrogant, and you know why I was arrogant? Because I was empty. You know, people that are confident are full of humility. People are arrogant, are empty of nothing besides themselves, and they have to fill themselves. And that
mm,
was me, and I'll be honest about it. I have no shame about sharing how arrogant and pompous I used to be, and my wife knew, or eventually figured out, God leading, right? That how do I get to David, and to be able to bring him over to this spiritual side? And it was tough because I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. It's very religious, and
mm.
and so it's if it's not this way, it's no way, and very, very by the book. And so, to hear different things like Joel Osteen, or different people out there, and like, Jensen Franklin, which is our senior pastor, to hear those pastors, it was almost like, no, it's not real. That's all. It's just a bunch of hype. But you start really opening your heart a little by little. They're going to say something that's going to pierce your heart just a little bit, and you're just be like, oh, that one's good. Well, I didn't realize that. And it's the Holy Spirit driving through them. But she didn't press it upon me. She knows she couldn't. If she tried to press it upon me, I would fight it. Um, I'm a rebel like that at heart. It's in my genes to rebel. But so she didn't press it. She just led by example. Her heart is so bright, and she is such an amazing person on the inside. I mean, she's beautiful on the outside, but she is gorgeous, drop dead on the inside. And in the moment you meet my wife, it's just you don't meet um you don't meet her outside, you meet her inside. Cindy will introduce your heart to you before she introduces her body to you, her outside, right?
Yeah.
And so, one of my partners in my company is like, man, we just need to be more like your wife. And I'm like, what do you mean I need to be more like my wife? Because she has an amazing heart. She's your exact opposite. And I said, dude, that's tough. Like she's got a big heart, and all that, and it, I don't know if I could do that. But what I tend to realize is that, my superpower, my strength, is to walk into a dark room, and I'm going to find the light switch. I'm not scared. Right?
Mm.
Let's go. I'm a pioneer. We can figure this out. I am not afraid to figure out a problem, and I will. And the solutions are in front of me. We just gotta go out there and fail. And so her superpower is to bring the light into the room. I'm looking for the light switch. She's bringing the light into the room. And so, how do I be that light like she is? And so I started kind of, I don't want to say I was studying my wife, but I started, like, letting her lead in that aspect, and letting
Mm.
her lead. Because listen, every great leader at one point was a good follower.
Mhm.
If you're not a good follower, you'll never be a good leader. That's just, I mean, that's my belief. So I started letting her lead in certain areas. I started letting her lead. Said, okay, you lead in the areas that I'm not good at. And I started leveraging her superpower, and not being the guy that can do it all. Because us egotistical men want to be the guy that want to do it all. I want to do it all. No, I got to do it. Oh, I got to be it. And no, let me put my 2 cents into it. And it was so hard for me to let go of that position and say, okay, wife, you do that. Cindy, you can do that. You lead that. And I started following her. And all of a sudden, the more I followed her, the more my heart started to open up. The more I followed her, the more I started seeing her ways and understanding that, man, if you use a hammer for everything, everything looks like a nail. I'm really good at being a coming a hammer. I will hammer down and we'll put in the work, but everything looks like a nail. And so you have to be, that Swiss Army knife eventually where, you got to be a hammer, you got to be a screwdriver, you got to be a knife, and you can eventually do that. But it's because you let go of the ego,
Mhm.
because the ego will hold you down
Mm.
to what you think you need. And the humility will liberate you to become what you need to be.
Mm.
And it's not what you think you need.
Mm.
And so, my wife has become a huge part of our family growth. I mean, a huge part of my business growth, huge part of my relationship growth, and building strong relationships with people, in the community, in our business. And it feels so good to say my wife's better than me in that. Like she's good at that. Like it feels really good to edify my wife. And I can tell you before Christ, I didn't edify my wife. Yeah, she's all right, you know. But no, now it's like I get to talk great about my wife. I used to talk bad. I used to use her as the joke, right? I used to be, oh babe, you did, and I'd make her the condescending humor of the room. Now it's like no, I boast her up. I
Mm.
don't talk I don't talk bad about my wife ever in front of
Mm.
people. I don't
Mm.
she's not the point of humility anymore. I'm or try to humiliate her, right? I wasn't, and because it's funny and because she's pretty and no one's gonna laugh at her. But no, it's like what am I doing trying to make jokes about my wife to make other people laugh?
Mm.
Right? I'm a terrible human being for doing that. And so now I'm boasting her up. I'm talking great about her. And it's so exciting, our dynamic. The smile she gives me is just one of those moments that you live for the rest of your life. That smile that of proud that my husband's boasting me up.
Mm.
And so that's those are the changes that's happened in my life. And man, I mean, I can tell you it feels effortless. Success feels effortless. Building strong relationships feels effortless. Um, Blessings come and you count them, and it's almost like, there you go again, God. You're showing off. There you go again. There you go. Obedience is effortless now. I mean, I remember being obedient, being a task. It is hard to follow directions. Tell me what you do, and I'll do it. Now that is hard. You know why? Because you're empty on the inside. But when you have a full heart of the spirit, and you're filled with that humility, it is easy to be obedient. And when you're obedient, listen, I'm sorry, you're obedient, the blessings come.
Mhm.
Everything you want, the blessings come. I'm reading this book on humility by Chad Veach. It's called "I Bet This Book Is About You." It's amazing
Mhm. I've
title.
heard of it. Yeah.
But in his book, I love it so much because I can actually quote things from his book. And one of the things he says, humility gets what ego wants. And I've been wanting, and my ego wanted so much, and I wasn't able to get it. It felt so hard. And now
Mm.
that I'm walking in humility, that humble spirit, it feels like it's given to me. It's like, here it is, here it is, here it is. Like, I'm not even trying anymore. And opportunities landing on my table. People are wanting to partner with me. People are wanting to do things with me. I mean, this podcast, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it organically happened. I didn't have to try to get on your call. Like it was effortless.
Mhm.
And so, you know, life is doing it. Life is so much more happier when your heart's full.
Mm.
Life is so much more enjoyable. You get to give. Man, I am the biggest cheap. I used to be the biggest cheapskate. Didn't like the tip. I'm not giving nobody money. The bum on the street needs to get to work. Needs to get to work. I'm not giving them anything. Like I never gave. Now when we're doing our Dreamcast sessions, there's like, what do you want your dream life to be like? And you know, initially the visions are coming to mind, and it's like the big house, the big cars, the business, the money, the vacations. And I said, Dave, you know, think a little bit different. Think with impact.
Hmm.
And then
Legacy.
the next thought came to mind and say, I want to donate $1 million. I want to give away $1 million. $1 million a year. I want to give away $1 million. I want to donate 100 grand to the church. I want to donate to 100 grand to a good cause, to helping people get better, helping people liberate themselves, help people build businesses. You don't got to pay me. Just let me give it to you. Let me give you opportunity. Let me give you my money. And can you imagine if I can give away $1 million a year? My income's got to be pretty darn good to be able to give
Yep.
away a million
Yep.
dollars a year.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, last year I gave away $35,000 to Make-A-Wish Foundation, to church, to this. I mean, $35,000 in a single year. That's great. Most money I've ever given away in my life.
Amen.
There's
It's cool.
tithing, there's offering. And so, you know, let's 10x that 35,000 this year.
Mm, I love it. So cool to see your heart in the shift. I was reflecting back. Hate to keep going back to that moment when I met you back in 2021, but it was when you come across another alpha male, from one alpha male to the next, the world says, let's puff our chest out. What do you got? What do you have?
Mhm.
And an alpha male on the spiritual side doesn't do that. And so when I come across men that are alpha male, you clearly are, and they start puffing their chest out, I am not inclined to puff my chest out. It's more like I want to get behind him, pat him on the shoulder, and be like, keep going, buddy. That's cool, man. That's
I
really
remember
cool.
that.
I'm really happy for you, because we boast in something that's different, and it's not tangible assets like you said, like vacations, cars. Those are all great things, and I think God wants to bless us with those things. But I think more particularly, a successful life is not defined by finances alone. It's very easy in this world. We sit here and go, "You're successful," and so when someone hears that, even if they're not a part of the discussion, they're like, oh, "How much money do they have? What have they accomplished in business, life, career?" It has nothing to do with that. Jesus, I mean, the great people of faith in Hebrews 11, those people died broke, financially broke, but they were sawn in two. They were murdered. They were crucified. They lived lives that were worthy of real praise. And God forbid, I don't want those things to happen to me, to my family, to my friends, to you. But the reality is success is not defined by material. It's defined by something that is intangible and can only be given by from God. And that's
Yeah.
something that he invokes to us and gives us a different spirit. I just find it to be so beautiful because no matter how much you try, if you are a part of this world to to be successful in that regard, but if you don't have Jesus, I fundamentally believe it's just probably not going to happen. You can be successful in multiple different areas, but a complete success, a foundation, a true foundation, has to be found in God,
Yeah.
specifically Christ, which I can still love people and lift people up. I don't look down on people. I see people as equals. My new book coming out, one of the things that I talk about is the chances of you being born is 1 in 400 trillion. So
Mhm.
this is a proven fact that scientists say the chances of you being alive, someone like Gary Vee talks about this quite a bit, not that stat, but the fact that you've been given life is
Mhm.
very rare. And so what are you going to do with that life? You're given one chance. I know some people
Yeah.
believe otherwise, which is, I'm going to die, reincarnate, and come back as something else. But let's just say you're given one chance. Oh my goodness. Like you're given one chance at this life. Let's make it count. And how you build real legacy, how you build real impact in your life, your family's life is way beyond finances.
Way
So
beyond finances.
way beyond finances. So
I
I love
believe,
your goals. Yeah.
I believe that a lot of people say, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave money. a business. I want, most of us men will start building assets to leave behind, and some people don't leave anything, right? My grandparents didn't leave my parents anything. They left them problems in a torn family. Um, but real legacy. Now that I'm here and I'm my spiritual growth, my spiritual development is here. I come to realize true legacy is how you raise your family to be prepared for the next generation. Because wealth, money comes after you've done something for somebody, right? It's an act of doing something. And so if you're always doing something, if you're always doing to help somebody, the money will always come. If you're helping somebody get what they want, someone's going to help you get what you want.
Mm.
And what I truly feel what legacy means is preparing your family to have a a an abundance mindset, a God-filled mindset, a heart full, not empty. Because society will fill your empty heart with things that you think you need, substance, um, all the things that social media will attract you. I mean, it's funny to see how many social media will throw all the negative things, and eventually you have to be intentional and say, you know what, unfollow, 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 and then eventually the good things will get thrown at you as well, but it's not as abundant. But you have that abundant mindset to know that, hey, God is with us at all time. We are never alone. And it's about collaborating. It's about helping others. It's about communicating. It's about loving each other, and watch what happens when you do that. I mean,
Mhm.
it all comes in. I was on a at my barber's chair the other day, and he's cutting my hair, and I was like, "Hey, put on your camera. Let's talk. Let's have some barber conversations." He created some reels, and it was awesome. But
Cool.
what I come to realize, and I said, the Bible is literally a blueprint for you to become a successful business owner,
Mm.
and not only to become a successful family man, not only to become a successful husband, not only to become a successful father, but to become a successful business owner and to become a successful friend. Success in every part of your life, even your health.
Mm.
Fasting is a big part of personal of health development. Fasting to grow your spirit, to deny the flesh so your spirit can grow. They don't talk about that in society. They don't.
Mhm.
No, fasting's bad for you. They've convinced everybody fasting is bad for you. But those of us that have dived into the Bible and have spiritual, fasting is the best thing for your health. I'm fasting right now. And that's probably why I'm having a little more spiritual connection. And
Yes, sir.
and it's all the things that you think you don't need are in the Bible. And the things that you will apply, you will find success in. I mean, it's just a blessing. And so if you want effortless, just authentic, loving life, you say, you know what, I'm gonna stop giving up. I'm gonna stop doing what I think is right. And I'm just gonna follow what God made the blueprint for I can live a humble, hearty, amazing life.
Mm.
And so when it comes to business, when it comes to, relationship, all of that has gone so much better because of the decision I made to give my life to Christ in 2022. Our relationship has got better because of that. You said it. Even though you gave me your number that day, you said it. I wasn't really attracted to you. I wasn't really connected to you. I mean, I get it. You're alpha, I'm alpha. Right? I work out too, bro. I work out too. You want to do push-ups? Let's do some push-ups. Like, but 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 we didn't connect, like as friends. We connected as he might be a cool acquaintance. How many acquaintances do we have?
Mm.
We have a ton of acquaintances, but friends, genuine friends, we definitely did not connect that matter. And now we did because of the decision I made. And now we can help each other in business. Now we can help each other in finances. Now we can help each other in relationships. I can connect you, you can connect me, and it's all because we connected because you got the same heart, I got the same heart. Like
Mm.
it's so crazy how prior to 2022, I couldn't say I love you to anybody besides my wife and maybe my dad,
Mm.
maybe my mom, maybe my kids. And now after Christ and after my baptism, after my commitment to God, I can say I love you to anybody.
Mm.
I don't have to say no homo anymore. But listen, everybody wants you to say, "Oh, if you say I love you, that's gay." Not anymore, bro. I can tell you I love you. I just barely met you. Hey, bro, I love you. No, I don't gotta say no homo no more. You know it ain't homo. Like it's genuine. It's a brotherly love.
Yeah.
Listen, I can't tell you I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. Business relationships, man. When you have business relationships, you have that connection, and you can tell, man, I love you for doing that, bro. Thank you so much. I love you for saying that. Thank you so much. I love you for helping me out that way. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
I thought it was weird. I was like, oh, why is he saying I love me? You know what that means, bro? Like, yeah, I do now.
Hmm.
I know what love means now.
Hmm.
And life's been so much better since then. Business has been so much better since then.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
glad you brought that up. So tell me about your business. I know about it, but tell our audience, what do you do? What does that look like? Clearly, you're there right now. Just give
yeah,
us some insight, some
yeah.
details.
So, I stumbled upon the insurance industry. I didn't want to be in the insurance industry. I don't think anybody wants to be in the insurance industry. But I got fired from my career, my college degree job, and man, it was hard to get back on monster.com and try to post my resume and try to get a job and try to get paid 40 grand a year and all that stuff. Man, it was like it was a long line to try to get that job. And so I remember the day I got fired, my one of my buddies is like, "Hey Dave, you want to come check out the insurance industry?" I was like, "What? The insurance industry? No, I
When
don't
was
sell
this?
things, bro."
When was this?
This was back in 2004, 2005. Yeah, 2004, late 2004.
So a
I
while
finally
ago.
got my license in 2005. Um, and I got into the insurance industry not knowing anything about it. All I knew is that I wanted to be successful and I wanted to make a lot of money back then. And there seems to be making a lot of people are making a lot of money and they're successful there in the insurance industry. And most people come to the insurance industry just like in real estate. You can make a ton of money. It's lucrative. You can have a freedom of your schedule and yada yada. It's your own business. And yes, that's all true. And I came in the business. I was excited and I learned and I learned that excitement runs out really quick. And
Hmm.
I remember my first month, I made like 5 grand. And I was like, yeah, I made that's the most money I've ever made in my life. Second grant, I got ego, I got cocky. I don't need to do all that stuff anymore. I made like 800 bucks that month. And I was like, I'm about to quit. This is terrible. Insurance sucks. And then I asked one of the guys that was doing well, still friends with him today. I said, hey, why are you making it? And why am I not? And he told me, he's like, Dave, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I do everything exact opposite you do. I come in early, I leave late, I set my appointments, I ask for training, I ask for coaching, I don't stop. I keep going until the job is done. You show up late, you leave early, you complain, you blame everybody besides yourself. And you don't train, you don't do and I was like, man, when he told me all that, and he's like, Dave, I made 15 grand last month. How much you make? I'm like, I muddled 800 bucks.
Hmm.
And he's like, change. And I went home that day and I looked myself in the mirror and I said, you know what? I'm going to change. And I committed to that change because one thing that I knew is that I could not commit and I could have the same results and I can quit. And I can go back to my job, which I didn't like
Hmm.
because I didn't like getting paid 17 bucks an hour, working, 50, 60 hours a week. And my overtime was taxed heavily. I didn't like that stuff. So then I was like, all right, it's either I commit and see what happens, or I don't commit and I already know where that's going to lead me. So I committed and I went back to my manager, my upline manager that day. I said, hey, look, I'm willing to make it all happen. I know I've been screwing up. Give me another shot. Teach me, train me, coach me. I'm going to be your minion. You tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. And so
Hmm.
like that was like the light bulb that went off that week. I went off, I made some sales. That second week, I made more sales. And all of a sudden, 5 months later, I buy myself a new car. 12 months later, I buy myself a new house. 5 years later, I become an agency owner. 1 year later, I become a top producing agency owner. 5 years later, I started multiplying myself. Now I have other agency owners underneath me. I'm building other leaders. 2022 comes around, the market starts changing, lead starts changing, the environment starts changing. I'm sure, it changed. Real estate's a big part of our business. All that started changing. We changed companies. Now I had to change my leadership style. I had to change my culture because my culture was finite. I didn't even know that. And all of a sudden, when the environments changed, my everything started collapsing on me, and I had to adopt to this new company that we merged with, Symmetry Financial. I was like, man, this I don't know, I can do this myself. I don't need to be part of this company. But I said, you know what? I'm going to give myself a shot. I'm going to give it 2 years. And so 2022, we came in, didn't really go all in until 2023. 2023, my business fell apart because the most people didn't want to adapt to the new culture. Literally started from scratch. A couple partners stayed on, and they worked their tails off. I worked my tail off. I worked on myself. I worked on my. If it wasn't for 2022, I wouldn't have made it in this business. I can tell you that. If it wasn't because of me, but getting baptized, giving myself to Christ, I wouldn't have made it here at Symmetry. I wouldn't have made it in my business. And now 2024, like 2023 was like this year for me. And it's so crazy because we still ended up being a little profitable at the end of the year. I don't even know how we did it. 2024 was just boom, skyrocket. It's everything that my spiritual development started kicking in, my relationships, building with partnerships with the right people. In 2024 was just boom, rocket ship, took off. We completed 2024 with 30% growth from 2023. 2025 now, we're in a completely different trajectory. We're looking to double in size this year. And it was and it's in the insurance industry, the easiest industry to sell. It's like, hey, you have a family, you have a need, let's go ahead and get them protected. Some people want to make a lot of money. Some people want to make a little bit of money. Hey, I help so many people just make an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month. This is a side hustle. And those people will eventually say, hey, you know what, man, if I can make 2,000 with just 2 hours out of my 5 hours out of my week, what if I did it? What if I did 20 hours? What if I did 4 hours? And then those people eventually become full time and they start building a business here. And that's what I really do is I help people build businesses. I can help you become a top producer because I was one for a very long time. Producing is in my blood. But what I know now is that producing doesn't make you a better person, it makes you a better salesman. Building a business makes you a better person. It allows you to give people grace. It allows you to allow people to fail. It allows you to build strong relationships and strong cultures. And that is what people need and are looking for in any business. Work for a company, you just want to feel valued and feel special and feel like my time and my energy is worth something. And I didn't know that back then. And that's why my business fell apart when things got tough. And now that I joined this company, they revamped my entire business model. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me the strength internally to sustain and to not turn to substance versus turning to the word. And that gave me the strength and the grit to really endure all of that change, because change is tough, but it is inevitable. It is part of the assignment. We all must change. And if you don't change, you are going to become a dinosaur and they ain't walking around anymore. And so, and so I had to change, and that change exploded growth. But guess what? Listen, Jake, the truth is that every business needs a change. I just realized not too long ago, the company Legos, they were going to go bankrupt in 2016. Today, they're worth over $1 billion. But they're on the verge of bankruptcy. There are so many companies that were on the verge of bankruptcy and they needed to change. Otherwise, they would have died out like Blockbuster did. Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix literally 5 years before Netflix took over the market and bank Blockbuster. They didn't want to change. And look at them now. And so business development today, and again, this is what I do, is I just partner with people that see my light and are gravitated to my light. I don't try to hire everybody anymore. Like I used to try to, let's go with everybody. No, Everybody that sees my light, sees my value, great. You pick me. I don't want to pick you anymore. If you see me and you see the value here, let's work together. I know I can help you in the easiest industry, the most, where there's the most amount of millionaires is in the insurance industry. I can help you make an extra $1,000, $2,000. But if you want something special, if you want something that's going to be a passive income, if you want something that's going to grow culture, that's going to grow you, and you're going to grow with a bunch of other people, make an impact. That's building a business, and that's what I'm good at now. I
Hmm.
figured it out. It wasn't because I figured it out; it's because God led me to the right place. God spoke to me. God lead. My prayer to this day, every day, is God show me where to go. Lead
Hmm.
me today. I give this day to you. I don't want to lead my day. You lead my day. I'm just going to follow you. Help me become more obedient to your word.
Hmm.
And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the agency I have today. I'd be probably one of those junkies at the bar and talking about all the things I would have, should have, could have.
Hmm.
And so
I love it.
we're in the restoration business, man. We help people restore the American dream. We help people restore the courage and the legacy that they want to leave. It's still out there. You don't have to be this genius. You just have to be willing.
Hmm. Hmm. I love it. Yeah, in my book Carpe Now, I talk about change being at the crux of life, and that it's a part of our life, and it should be a part of it. It should be recognized a part of our life. And if you're a dinosaur, as you alluded to, you're not going to make it. You're gonna die, and so you have to constantly evolve and change. And I'm obsessed, just being a philosophy major and philosophy guy, and obsessed with thought and revelation and origination. And so, being a real estate broker, me being able to originate my own deals, I look at that philosophically, and I have this ability to originate something from my hands, from my mind. And this is real estate transactions, so it's a little bit different. But in the same way, God has designed us to be creators, to be originators, as He is the ultimate originator. So when it comes to this idea of living in the state of change, it's possible. I had someone on my show last week, an author, Kayla Logue, real cool um, conversation that we had. And one of the things that she said actually surprised me, because I live in this place where, like this conversation, there's no agenda, there's no plan. Let's just be authentic. Show me you, I'll show you me. Let's show our heart. Let's have a genuine discussion. There's no agenda. And so last week we were talking, and I had asked her, as I was intrigued. She had said something about, like, now I know who I am, and then she kept going. And I said, who are you? Who are you right now? And I could tell that she was like, whoa, that's a big question. Yeah, can you give me some time? But she gave me a really good answer. And then she fired it back at me. She's like, who are you? And I had a thought. So I ended up going off with this thought, not in relation to who I am. But I said, I want to get back to who I am because I believe I know who I am. But in that moment, after I illustrated my thought, I said, I am now. That's who I am. And I had never said that before, ever. It just literally flowed through my heart. And I said, I am now. I am right now here in the present moment, perfect, yet completely broken, and trying to figure it out with all my successes and all my failures at the same time. And I'm now. And I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm going to be now in 15 minutes, because I could be dead. And if I'm dead, then I'm with Jesus. And so I'm not now. I'm somewhere else. I'm in my real destination. And as I was even saying it, I'm like, oh, that sounded good.
That sounded
Only
real good.
because it was just an illustration of my heart. And my heart is, I am now. I look at myself, and I think you look at yourself this way too. You're ferocious. I have a name for you as you kept talking. Game day. Game day, David. So you're game day. Like, when it's game day, let's go. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna turn it on. I'm gonna plow through walls. I'm gonna break barriers. And I portray myself as that person because I am that person. I'm that way too. I could be so docile, so reserved. But if you want me to step up in the moment, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do my best. And same as you, I'm gonna find the light switch. You and me are
Yeah.
so similar in that regard. But I think at the same time, with all the gifts and talents and abilities that I have now, that you have now, that we've refined, that we're continuing to refine, we're still so incomplete without Jesus. It's just
Oh
not
yeah.
possible. Can't do it. Can't do it. And it doesn't make me weaker. It makes me stronger. It makes you stronger that we rely on something outside of ourself, knowing that regardless of your viewpoint, whether it's right or left, up, down, it doesn't matter. What matters is we have a foundation in the creator of the universe that is unshakable. And we believe it to be true. And we want people to know that, but we don't force that on people. It's rather, you should take a look at this. You should seriously take a look at this, not only intellectually, but emotionally and spiritually, because this is a real thing. I'm like you. I think you're a skeptic and you might be a little hard headed and you might be a little bit of a control freak. And I only say that because that's me. I'm looking at my reflection right now. Like, David, Jake, like, what? What's going on here? Both Latino, you know? So we have so many things in common. And I think through that self reflection, I've realized that my brokenness is my strength. I am qualified because I am not qualified. I was selected because I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. I don't see myself as perfect. I see myself as someone trying to progress and trying to become my best version. So I know we're a little strapped for time, but I do want to get a last closing thought from you. So knowing what this show is about, knowing what I'm about, what you're about, what
Yeah,
is it that you'd like to share with the audience? A word of encouragement.
absolutely. If you're watching this right now, you're curious. You're probably looking for some answers. You have some questions. You probably don't even know what the questions are, but you feel a question is on the tip of your tongue, and I just don't know what to say, who to ask, how to ask it. Maybe my next step, but I know what one thing is that something's drawing you here and you want to take something from here. And the reality is that you already know the answers to the questions. You already have them. You just have to sit back a second and say, let me think about it for just a moment. You said something earlier. You said that I'm a reflector. I'm a ponderer. I like to be in thought. And that's something that I like to do too. I didn't
Mm,
realize that I like to sit back and just reflect on the day, reflect on the conversation, reflect on this time. What does this make me feel like? What is this teaching me? Because every scenario is a lesson. Everything is a lesson. You just have to be able to catch it and be aware and be present, be in the now so you can catch it. There's opportunity everywhere. You just have to be present to catch it, to say, aha, I saw it. Aha, I see it.
mm,
It reminds me of these computerized images that where you kind of focus in the middle, all of a sudden the image pops up. But when you
yeah.
look at it, it's just a bunch of pixelated things. That's what life is really all about. That's what you're feeling. And so if you're here and you're right now and you heard this and you say, man, I wrote down some nuggets, I wrote this, I wrote that. Maybe it impacted you. Maybe you're just like, hey, Dave sounds a little crazy. All I'm going to say is if nothing changes, nothing changes. And if you think you can continue to build your life upon what you can do, I hope it doesn't ever fall apart like it did with me. But it fell apart. And I've seen people lives fall apart and they went from such a high summit and that tumbling down from that summit was just nasty. And some of people aren't here anymore because of that fall. They're gone. What I do know is that when I slipped on that one rock, when I was high up on that summit, and I started falling down, only hand that caught me was Jesus.
Mm,
Because I
mm.
reached up. He pulled me up to my feet.
Love it,
He
brother.
got me on my feet.
Mm,
He gave me hope. He gave me a way. It wasn't mine. It was completely different, but he gave me away.
Mm,
And he gave me trust, and not only in him, but in myself and my family. One step at a time.
mm,
It was scary. It was like rolling on roller skates for the first time. But the moment, the confidence, and he purified my heart.
mm,
I started feeling the grip. I started feeling confident, and I started running up this mountain again.
mm,
And life is what it is. But if you feel like you're gonna do it by yourself, it's always you're always gonna be by yourself. And this
mm,
we're not meant to be by. We are meant to be in community. We're meant to do things together. We're meant
mhm.
to lock arms. And sometimes we're gonna lock arms because I know you, and sometimes I'm gonna lock arms because I just it just feels right.
Yeah.
Lock arms. Let's charge this thing not by sight but by faith. And I like to and I can only imagine what's gonna happen on the other side.
That's beautiful. Brother, thank you. I love you.
I love you too,
That's
man.
so cool, man. That's really cool. Well, I appreciate it. We'll do this again, probably sometime in the near future, just because you're a lion, you're a warrior. And I always appreciate having fellow warriors on the show, authentic warriors. But I love you, man. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.